So what's up, YouTube? Dave here. Gonna start this thing up. I got a couple Fox bodies I'm gonna be working on, and we'll see where we can get with it. Never done this before, and just kind of always had the itch to do it. And I've been watching Brutal, and it's time to start. So I got the 91 GT here. Kind of started with a paint job I wanted to do on it. Never done that before, so it's been a project. Had a good dent in the fender. I think I got her smoothed out pretty good, but it's hard to say, you know, till you put some paint on it, really, I guess. But that's where we're at with it. Got this from a friend of a family, and the door was smashed on it, so I was like, well, I'll just put a door on it, no big deal. And then it turned into this. So it had another dent right here that I've been working on. And you can see it's kind of been a lot, especially when you don't know what you're doing. You don't know which steps to start with. And so I just started shredding. And then my bumper, so I was gonna fix all that stuff because I wanted to keep it original. But time's kind of tough when you're doing this kind of stuff. And now I have a new kid, and I almost have no time. So you just got to get it when you can, right? That's what I keep hearing. And then the rear bumper I wanted to save as well. It had the normal cracks and things. So I mean, it looks like the crack's still there, but I used fiberglass on the rear to strengthen it, you know. But it's smooth. Oh, there's still some, you know, it needs some more work. But I might just end up getting another bumper for it too, just to save time and get it knocked out. But the project we're going to start with is the 91 Vert I bought. I don't like convertibles, but it was cheap, and they're hard to come by, these cars these days, at a decent price. So the story on this car was, it was running, it just didn't have the top, none of it, the frame, everything was gone. So I called the guy, just kind of checked him out, and didn't really go anywhere. But then I saw it come up for like $1,500. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this car. So I went and saw it, and I guess he blew the tranny out of it, and it's an AOD, which nobody likes. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. It looks like fun, because you can build an AOD or any tranny really that'll bang some gears, just like you're, you know, slam shifting. And when you get into the torque of the motor and you're feeding it through an automatic, there's a feeling it gives you, you know. So I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm going to do a super budget build. I thought about, like, you know, putting the 4RW gears or whatever in this thing and totally changing it and building it. But I'm like, you know what? Let's build it stock and let's burn it down. You know, we'll build the motor up, and then once the tranny cooks, then we can change what we're going to do to it. But anyway, so this is kind of how the car's sitting now. Got a little more vacuuming to do, because all this was just full of leaves. It was a sick mess, really. I think they sprayed the car real quick. It's got hail damage and things like that, but I'm just gonna drive this thing to work and just, you know, stomp on it. So I got this top. I got the thing for $500, this top, and it's an OEM top with the insert inside, so it's pretty good. So we'll put that under there, or back on it, but got to get the tranny going. The cool thing I noticed on the Verts is they put strengthening underneath, because you don't have the roof to keep the body from bending. So it already kind of has a little, like, horsepower capability built into it, if you will. You can see it right there. They put these, I mean, it's nothing like insane, but there's got to be some structural strength added just from that. So I was like, you know, we'll turn this old girl up, see what she can churn out. When I was younger, me and my buddy were building his 94, and he had some parts left over from that build years ago, so I got those. We got some Trick Flow 206 race heads. I don't even know what that means. I did read, like, a disclaimer saying it was gonna have to like have custom headers, which that's gonna suck, because I don't want to do all that to that car. Eventually this car should get a little power in it. And but anyway, he had the cam, so I'm gonna try and make it work on the Vert, right? I mean, I don't know if you want a whole lot of horsepower with no top on the thing, but it'll be fun. So I got the AOD tore out and tore down. It had the classic brake on it, the front hub. The snap ring comes off the front of it, I guess, and it pretty much eats itself. So it tore up the pump. Let's see. I don't know if you can see it here, but you can see the marks on the stator. It just chewed into it because once the snap ring came off the front hub, the bearing came apart and just, you know, parts flying. I mean, it still had like, I don't know what gear it had, maybe second gear, because I drove it home. But all I had was second gear. You get up to like 4,000, 5,000, let off the gas, it would drop out of gear. But either way, it made it. So here we are. Oh, so I remember I was walking through my buddy's shop next to us, and I saw this tool. And I never seen a tool like that before. I don't build trannies. And I'm like, man, I wonder what the heck that thing's for. And then I started kind of watching videos on how to do AOD, and that tool popped up. I'm like, oh man, the neighbor's got one. And he gave it to me, so it worked out. Free. But, so anyway, getting into this, we got I'm not sure what all this is called. Like I said, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm just kind of learning on the fly. I did build the tranny in my Dodge. It's a 68 RFE. It took me about 6 teardowns and put back together to get it together right. I didn't put it in the truck. I just knew I put it together wrong, so I had to take it back apart a couple times. But we got it there and it lives. So this one, the overdrive band rides right here, and it absolutely cooked it. I think, oh yeah, I still have the band right here. You can see all the material's gone off of it. So I think this guy had a couple problems going on, and I could imagine it was like lack of experience. He seemed like a younger guy that had the car, and you know, that's all good. You got to start somewhere. But when I got the car home, I kind of wanted to diagnose the transmission, like maybe, because it still had second gear and it moved. I'm like, well, maybe not all is lost, because it had reverse too. Sometimes you find shit that's simple. Like we bought a front end loader, this big old monster, never even driven one, nothing. I had no idea what I was doing as a wheel loader. But it didn't have forward gear sometimes, most of the time, right? But sometimes it would, and then when it did, it was fine. So I'm like, well, that's strange that the gears can't be smoked, or the clutch is in it. And it turned out to be a relay. It was like a $20 part, hilarious. And we got this thing for dirt cheap. So I'm always looking for the easy fix. You know, that's where you start. Like most people, if you have a problem, they go to the hard part. It's like, no. Start with the easy part, pal. So I started looking around. First thing you do, drop the pan, see what's in it. Thing was full of monkey. It was over. So I started kind of figure out what happened before I got it out. Right here, this is the throttle linkage, and an AOD is controlled by the throttle in a sense. The throttle valve, I believe it's called. It's controlled with the throttle cable, and as you give it more fuel or more throttle, it gives the transmission more pressure as it's shifting gears to hold the clutches, right? Well, the bolt's missing, and the throttle lever, or the mount, was pulled back. So when you're giving it full throttle, I believe you're not getting full pressure to the transmission as you run through the gears, so you start slipping. And there you go, overdrive's cooked, you know what I mean? I guess a lot of times the bushing goes bad in the lever here, and you'll get the same problem, low pressure, and you'll cook overdrive before you know it. So I've been learning a lot about these trannies before I started building it. So it's good, you know, it's gonna be fun. You know, you gotta remember to look at the camera and not yourself when you're making these videos. But so about the budget build too, we have a torque converter shop here in town that they built the one in my Dodge, and it's a beast. Like, it's probably overkill. It's like for straight drag racing. So when my truck bangs gears, it bangs gears. So I had them kind of do the same thing to this stock converter, but I didn't want to spend all the money for a new converter, so I asked them if they could turn the stall up in a sense. So they gained maybe another 500 RPM in the stall, and I guess you need that when you're running a bigger cam and an auto. You need a higher stall, otherwise maybe it won't idle. I don't really know what's going to happen. I might not even have enough stall in this, but the tranny's easy enough to take out. I'll buy the torque converter later if I got to. What else now? The thing needs motor mounts. It needs a lot of extra work. And LMR, shout out to them, man. Like, they have a lot of parts and it makes it a lot simpler, except for my throttle cable. Like, that's frustrating. I can't find that dang thing. Every time I go there, it's still not in. And I think I found one. You know, when you go to other websites to buy your parts other than like LMR, I feel like you're kind of guessing on these older cars if it's going to be the right one, but we're going to go for it. So anyway, I got to lift this motor up, change the motor mounts. The fan clutch is smoked like normal. The fan blade's broke. This thing did have a funny vibration in it, but that was probably because the front bearing was bad in the tranny. So overall though, the car's in pretty good shape. It has hail damage, but like I said, this is just going to be like a back and forth to work, and you know, hopefully it'll do some burnouts. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy fast, but nonetheless, I'm excited. And we got the Terminator here. You know, I love this car. I've had it for a long time, but every time I drive it, I feel like I'm just going to break it because I'm just smashing on it constantly, you know. And I just, like I said, time is precious these days. And if I blow that sucker up, it's over. So I'd rather kill one of these, and you know, it's a cheap motor and you can build it better for a decent price. I am going to get a supercharger deal going. I know everybody's doing this stuff on these videos, and I love watching their content, and it's kind of inspired me to try and video and do what I'm doing. And I kind of want to build it up the same. Do it. Don't go right to the top, you know, build it, do little things at a time so you can enjoy the little extra horsepower you get by each mod, you know. Don't go straight to the top, because then what? It's over. You're bored. And I don't need any more projects, so just get the hard stuff done and then start adding the power. And then we'll cook the tranny, and then we'll build it better, right? We might even change the tranny to something else. I was kind of liking the idea of keeping the overdrive. It seems like a necessity right now. And maybe once I start driving the car, it's not. Because I did get the 410 gears Brewer recommended for this thing. And it kind of worked out, because when you do change the AOD gears, you get like a lower first gear. And with a ratio like that in the rear end, you might run out of first gear really quick, and that's never good. But we're gonna try it. We're gonna do 410s in it with the AOD, and just see what happens. You know, I've been doing all the little stuff here, like this switch is bad. I mean, all this stuff is simple to fix. And like I said, LMR's got all the parts for this. I wish it had more of the simple stuff to do so I could be driving it already, but that's just not the case. You know, you get them cheap, they need work. So I think that's about it. It was funny too, like they had this sucker's got some kind of power steering leak because it has no power steering, so it may need a rack, so we'll be doing that too. I guess I should probably try and film a lot of I don't know how much I'm going to actually film of building the tranny, because it's going to be a slow process for me, because I'm I wouldn't say I'm pretty meticulous about things, but I don't know how to do it, so it could take a while. Cause put it together, take it apart, make sure it's right. You know, I bought the books and all that stuff, and I've already kind of started here. Like this is a planetary, and these are your bearings basically, but they're bushings, and these, you know, these parts right on the shafts. And like I said, I was out here jacking around one night when I had a couple minutes, and I popped this stuff out. I don't remember which way it goes in, because if you look at the bearing, I don't know if you can see that, like that. One side has more surface area than the other, you know, on either side of that groove. So the groove's for oiling, and you got your two oil passages there. But anyway, that's got to go in a certain way. So I got to read through the book and put it back in the right way. Because baby won't live long if you put it together wrong. But anyway, I did notice something else on the planetary. I was playing with I was kind of, you know, you want to inspect all these gears as best you can. Make sure they're not missing teeth. But I had one that it kind of bound up on me. I'm like, oh no. You know, like these hard parts get a little pricey, and when you're trying to do a budget build, you don't you don't want to spend the money on the big parts like this. You'd rather put it in some horsepower parts. But anyway, it jammed up, and I was like, ah, shit, might need a new one. But it doesn't do that anymore, and honestly, I'm willing to take the risk on that part. It seems smooth. I don't know why it was doing it. It wasn't horrible, but it was there. And then the one other thing I noticed about the Planetary is there is a needle bearing right here, and it don't come out. Like, the gears are in the way. So I assumed there would be a spot where you could press one of the gears out so you could get the thing out. But if you look, these are all chamfered and pressed. You can't, those don't come out. So it's like, what do? You run it. I rolled the bearing pretty good, and it feels pretty good to me. I don't know. I think it'll be all right. Because this is a little further back in the tranny. It kind of wasn't where all the damage happened. I don't even know if I have some of the other damaged parts, but some of the other clutches and steels were actually not bad. Like you can see, they still got the cross hatching on it. So there's still some material left on these clutches. And then there's others that are just see you later, you know. So I don't know. We're gonna start though. I'm gonna start doing bearings and bushings. I had to buy a new forward hub. I don't know if that's what you call it, but this is actually the part that came apart. See this snap ring right here? They'll pop off and let this loose, and back behind this plate is your roller bearing. And that's what came apart inside the tranny and tore up the oil pump in the stator. So I got this on the old interweb, pretty cheap too. I couldn't believe it. You know, I was looking at those monster transmissions just because it seemed like it was a budget build, or a built tranny for a budget price, which that's never a good thing. But as you call them and you start talking to them, the price starts getting pretty major. So, and then I was looking at getting parts from them, but they have like the worst markup on all their parts. So if you just shop around a little more, you can find better deals on the parts. I really did want to change this to the AODE because the overdrive band is 2.5 inch, when the older ones, the AOD regular mechanical tranny, they're only 2 inches wide. So, you know, 2.5 inches, give it a little more surface area. But I'm thinking like, geez, man, if I'm going to be in my Dodge, I'm always in overdrive smashing on the highway. So I guess you could see where you burn it out, but we'll just see how it goes, you know. Because it was kind of hard to find the hub for that 2.5 inch band. I did find the hub, but you have to replace, I believe you have to replace this as well. It has to be shorter due to the extra width of the hub. And that's kind of where I started running into trouble, because there's a certain amount of teeth on this one, and I guess they're kind of getting rare now, rare to find. These things are turning into dinosaurs. So I guess ultimately the next, if this thing cooks and I burn it down fast from adding power to it, I may switch to the 4RW, I think it's called. It's an electronically controlled motor, or transmission, but they have like standalone computers you can put on them. And that actually would be cool, because then you can tell it when to shift and things like that, how hard to shift. Because I did notice Brutal, when he got his AOD rebuilt and everything, his struggle is shift timing. And he has the governor on the back tail shaft. That kind of controls your shift timing, and you can change springs and things like that in it to change your shift timing. But it's like, you can only change one spring in there, and it changes both it might change all the shift timing, but it's never where you want it. It's either over revving or shifting early. And you hold on, work's calling, stand by.